Well, our first guest this morning does it all when it comes to making homes look beautiful. And this week she's in Vegas at one of the biggest trade shows in the home and furniture business. And she's giving us a sneak peek at some of the hot items for the year. Welcome back to the show, live from Vegas, from Fox Homes and Foxwell in Edina. It's our good friend, Heather Fox. Hi, Heather.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How's the show going?
I mean, it's warm here. It's incredible to walk outside without a jacket. I'll tell you that. It's awesome. It's so great to come and see all of the trends. You know, we see everything here from furniture, decor. I've got candles, cleaners, everything behind me. Everything is here.
Well, we depend on you, Heather, for the current trends that we're going to see in the next year. So we have these down in categories. Let's start with textures. What are you seeing?
Okay, so textures. I'm seeing a ton of natural fibers, like this basket, in just about every part of decor. Even in pillows, we're starting to see some of this. Tons of like raw natural materials, like this marble bookend, just like tons of texture all the way around. And of course, as always, pillows, tons of different just like materials. You know, you've got all of this movement, lots of tassels are still happening. So you kind of get a little bit of everything, anything that feels great, but then also you can like see the texture when you look at it.
I know in the early 2000s, it was all about sharp, straight lines. Everything just had, it was very modern, and now we're getting away from that. You're seeing a lot of curves.
It's like the 80s are coming back fully. You know how in like dressing, everybody dresses like we dressed in the 90s, Jason?
Yeah.
Well, now all of the decor is starting to look like the 80s, which I dig. So many of these like little curves on vases, tons of them, like these little rings here, just like a cool little piece to set on a coffee table or something. Just about everything has curves right now. Tons in furniture too. I can't really show you a sofa at the moment, but all of the furniture has like curved backs. It's pretty fun actually to kind of see this like huge throwback to what my house looked like when I was a kid.
I was going to say, Heather, it's funny that you mentioned the 80s, because before we moved on to curves, when you showed that first basket in textures, Jeff's nodding his head too, I thought that is something that you would have seen in the early 80s, right, Heather? That is so...
Totally.
Yes, my mom had stuff like that.
Yeah, I would actually say decor is kind of starting, I feel like decor items, you're seeing lots of 70 influences, like even the like mustards and the greens, the avocados, the textures, all of that. And then furniture, we're seeing more of like the 80s influence.
Okay, now
interesting.
This next thing that you told the producers surprised you, and it surprised me, because this is the late 80s, like Miami Vice era. You're seeing a lot of pastels?
So many, even lavender. So we're not just seeing the blushes. You know, blush was huge last year. It's kind of a neutral, I think, in decor right now. But we're also seeing like this lavender color, again, example of curves, and this green. Even the candles you can see behind me, all of these vessels are kind of in that like more pastel kind of color tone. But I mean, again, another curve example, right?
Oh.
Curve and pastel together. And what do we have here? Texture.
Yeah.
All of it. All the trends right there.
I feel like there's a Facts of Life when they opened that Over Our Head store, and it was all pastel stuff. That's what I feel like. Okay, we're going to stick with textures, but on vases, you're seeing glazes and texture.
Yes. Yeah, so it's cool. It's actually, we're seeing it on kind of like this mug here on not just vases, but also in like dining plates and cups and mugs. And then also in, again, these candle vessels, you know, they have tons of texture and a lot of like glazing in almost all of it. So tons of just like this natural look, right? Like you're seeing it in the fibers, in the textures, and then also obviously in the glazes. And Illume, so cool. This is actually a Minneapolis brand and some of my like favorite scents for all candles.
You kind of said this at the very beginning, but what I'm getting from this overall is everything is just very natural. We're getting away from the over modern, white metal. We're getting away from that, it seems. Am I right?
Absolutely. Tons of natural textures. And I mean, a lot of color. I feel like for a while when we would come to these shows, things would be kind of colorless. And I think after the pandemic, maybe it just changed where people are like, they want to live in their house and have a little bit of life. And we're just seeing tons of that. Again, pastels, but also that 70s color palette too, like that mustard and rust and avocado green, a lot of that also.
And speaking of the pandemic, I know we did a whole segment on it after a New York Times article talked about 20-somethings really embracing plants. Plant moms, plant dads, plant parents. Plants are still hot?
Oh my gosh, huge. So tons of textures, again, within the planters. You can kind of like fulfill having the plant, being the plant parent, but also get some of those glazes and textures. There's so many pretty pretty pots for those also. But yeah, plants are huge. And Jason, I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, I was on and talked about plants at the time when they were like kind of starting as a trend. And now they are everywhere. And the great news is there's so many resources online, so many blog posts and stuff you can read. If you're like, I'm starting out with plants, I don't know what to do, read a few like blog posts and figure out what the really easy non-killable ones are and start there.
I love it. My last question, we have like 30 seconds. When you go to these shows, Heather, it's kind of an inside baseball question, but the stuff that you see in these shows like right now, when do we normal folks start to see them on shelves, like at Target?
Good question. Yeah, so some of it happens like 30 days later, right? You make an order and it's on your shelves 30 days later. But if you want to see something kind of funny, right now, I am also doing all of our Christmas shopping. So not just, the stuff for summer and fall, but we are doing all of our Christmas. We buy all of our Christmas stuff by the end of January.
Oh my goodness. That is fascinating. Heather, thank you. Can't wait to see you again.
Yes, thanks so much.
Go visit her shop in Edina. Go to foxwell.com for more information. It's a great store. You'll love it. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Beautiful store.